Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I wanted to open the video with something that's not so technical, and then I want to tie it back into how technicals work on this play and what I think is going on. But I have noticed a shift with the apes. But before I get started, make sure you drop a like on the video if you like the content. Watching the video until the end is the best way to support this content through the YouTube algorithm, because watch time is like their key metric. So if you're enjoying the video, just make sure that you're watching until the end. I promise I'll wrap it all up with a bow for you, my full ideas. Also, you can follow me on Twitter. I have a Discord community that's completely free to join. You can go join there. And the tool that I'm using to chart is TradingView. I have an affiliate link down below in the description that you can use. And if you do that, you get a discount if you choose a premium subscription, or you can just do the free version. It's completely free to use. But if you do that, I get a commission on your sign up, so I appreciate it. Or you can just sign up for yourself because I think it's a really useful tool. So all the tools I'm going to use in the video today are completely free to use with TradingView. So yeah, let's get into it. So before we talk about the technicals, I want to talk about a shift in the sentiment of apes, AMC, the Twitter sphere that I'm watching, because Twitter is, you can kind of keep a pulse on what's going on in the community throughout the day. And I feel like there's a shift happening as far as the sentiment goes with AMC. And the shift that I'm referring to is when we were up in this region, here, and we were in this rising wedge, and I started to suggest the idea that we could see some downside. I noticed that there was a lot of, and any time you kind of refer to potential downside, there's a certain negativity that comes along with that from certain parts of the community, right? Not all of the community, but some, right? And there's almost this sort of, I don't want to say panic, but more like anxiety, So, and I know apes, there are going to be people who say, oh, we're not panicked or we're not anxious or anything, but you can tell that, people who are going to hold no matter what, those sorts of people in the ape community, I'll hold no matter what, I'll hold until shorts cover, right? They feel really defensive, and on the lower end of that spectrum, instead of defensive, you notice apes feel that anxiety that I was describing before of the potential for downside. And I was calling for a move down here, in this like $40-ish to $42 region. Because I originally was actually looking at this shorter term rising wedge that created that price target here. But then once I kind of realized, oh, we're in a much larger rising wedge, I started to say, hey, we could visit the mid 30s. And a lot of people did not want to hear that, right? The $35-ish range. And of course, and I'm not sitting here kind of like trying to pat myself on the back or anything. This sort of move is what we saw. We saw a retracement down to the 786 for that first move there, that big move up to $52, $53. And that move, a lot of big things happen in that move, especially from a technical sense. You could feel the pain from apes. You could feel on the lower end, the newer apes, maybe the less confident people who have been around for the least amount of time, you could feel a certain dissatisfaction or frustration or fear, except for the people who were watching me, because I was keeping people on point, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just kidding. But now I'm starting to feel a shift in this emotion, because if you see here, we had this move up to $44. And before today's price action on Friday, we finally got that $36 dip that I was talking about. And going into pre-market, I just remember over the weekend, a lot of people who were doing cycle theory and fractals and things of that nature were starting to call for even further lower price action, lower 30s. And again, we're coming off of a high here, so it doesn't seem like you would feel this, but it seems like apes are starting to almost embrace some downside. And I just think that it's interesting to witness that sort of psychological shift. And there's not really, I think that there's some value to be had there, and some understanding of why, right? Why technical analysis works, and why it's important to understand the price action and what it can be evoking on a human level, from an emotional standpoint, for people who may or may not be involved in the play in one way or another, whether they're long or short, or they haven't invested yet, or anything like that. I think that, you could almost say that same psychology for people who are currently holding. And of course, my view on this is one of, it obviously is dependent on my Twitter feed, right? Like, I'm not watching the news or anything like that. I'm just kind of seeing the things that show up on my feed, whether it's people I follow, or things that they like, or things that they retweet, or something like that, right? So I know that in a sense, there is a intrinsic bias there, right? But I think that it points to a level of comfort at a certain price. And I think that for new potential apes that may be entering the market, I think that this sort of creates an environment where it's a little bit more welcoming for them to enter, right? Maybe they're sitting on the sidelines going, oh, okay, it dipped here to the $34, but then it pumped back up in pre-market. Now we have two pretty significant gaps, by the way, which is nice, to the upside. Well, one now, because we filled it today. We had a pretty big pump here in the middle of the day. But I just think that, it's something interesting to point out. Maybe with one more move down, to try and squeeze some of the weaker hands out, we could see a little bit of a move up, right? So let's talk a little bit more about that technically. I just thought that that was interesting to point out, something that I've noticed. Tell me if you noticed that in the comments down below. And by the way, if you're not following me on Twitter already, it's at David Marina Jr. It'll be in the description down below. Also, I wanted to visit before we get into my Elliott wave analysis of what's going on, or into my cycle theory, or my like the fractals and everything like that, or the Wyckoff stuff, which I always have on the screen here because it's easier to have before the video. I wanted to point out this fractal. And this guy, Esther Nafil, that's his Twitter. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, so forgive me. He's actually a pretty consistent member in my Discord as well. He's been trying to hit me up. He's been trying to hit me up and tell me about his fractals and stuff like. It's just I get a lot of people send me a lot of different charts and a lot of different stuff, so it's kind of hard for me to keep up with. But I posted without these little bubbles. So let me take these bubbles off right quick. Here, I posted this and I was like, yo, hold up. Because previously, well, not necessarily previously, but it kind of just like had me look at it. Well, yeah. So previously I was kind of looking at it like, and I'll just do this right quick. Like this section of the chart was more like this section of the chart. And I know a lot of people don't really like fractals, but it's my channel, so I don't know. Make your own channel, I guess. I just think it's interesting. It's not necessarily my main thing, but I think it's pretty interesting because the chart does display a lot of really similar motion. I'm sure that we can agree on that. So I was kind of thinking that this maybe was what was going on, or like these regions were together, because obviously you can tell that they look. I'm sure you can see that they look pretty similar, right? You have this section of the chart here, and this section of the chart. Then you have perhaps this section of the chart and this section of the chart. Obviously, you can see the transition phase here where we got rejected down. And then now I was kind of expecting maybe we have a little bit more downside to finish out this kind of rounding thing. But when I look at it from a different perspective, this perspective here, and I know that they kind of run into each other, right? But perhaps this is the where we are, and maybe we will see some further downside here. And I think that's kind of ironic when you compare it to what's going on, with what I opened the video with, right? Perhaps there's a certain confidence, and I kind of remember this region of the chart back here, back in April or May. I had invested in early April. Early to mid-April was when I was really loading up on AMC, between this kind of 12-ish to like maybe $9-ish range. I don't know what exactly my average is, but I sort of remember seeing it come up and be like, oh, look at it, it's running, nice. And then because I wasn't really paying too much attention to it, if I'm being honest with you. It was just kind of one of these like back burner positions, like, oh, if it pumps again, it pumps again. We all have those from time to time. So he's not an ape, I told you. I had a position back here and was kind of trading it, but it was a little wild, so I left it alone for a couple months. I'm sure you remember. But we had these pumps here, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this thing's for real. Maybe we have a chance to see something happen. And then it kind of dipped, and I was like, oh, whatever. I had some options and stuff, and I was kind of like, oh, it's all right, whatever. I'll just hold on to it, whatever. This is it feels really similar. It feels like a similar kind of region of the chart. And if you look at it from a fractal perspective, right? You're just like, let's pretend like it's trying to do the same thing, right? You have this sort of, let me get my path tool. You have this sort of this really aggressive downside. Boom, you pop up here, and then, you kind of have this move back down. If you look at it, this is a significant bearish candle here, and then boom, you get this little pop up. Could this be something that we see here in the near future? That, similarly, you have this pretty aggressive bearish action. Boom, pop up, and then maybe you see one last little push down, and we'll talk about this from a Wyckoff perspective as well. Definitely want to get into that. And then that kind of rounds out this bottom. So let me bring those curves back and see if you can tell what I mean. Right? And obviously, look, so here, you come back for a retest of this trend line perhaps, right? So maybe spread this out a little bit just to illustrate it a little bit more closely, right? So boom, 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 boom. Perhaps that's the type of move. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Oh, that's way too big. Let me change the color of it though. There you go. That's easier to see. Yeah, so maybe this is the sort of move. And look, this aligns with a lot of fractal stuff that I'm seeing out there. So let me make sure I shout out this guy's Twitter properly. So you guys can go check him out, because again, he's an engaged member of the community. I really appreciate his contribution, and I look forward to him telling me how to pronounce his Twitter handle. It's Esternafil. And it kind of all the other people that I've been shouting out, my friend Mocha, Colin Gladman, etc. And obviously like Astro, the guy who's kind of like made fractals and this repetitive theory the most, he's kind of brought it to the forefront in a lot of ways in the community. I know there's some drama around that. I don't want to talk about that, but anyway. So yeah, what would that look like, right? Well, if you look at the top of this move here, where the white line and the blue line attach to each other, to make it the most similar, you're probably looking at maybe a retest here, a breakthrough perhaps of this 52-ish, 53-ish dollar range before, right? So you bottom out here, maybe this $32 range. Yikes, dude, right? A lot of pain. And then this final move up here, maybe to this 55-ish dollar region. And then you come back down, and we'll do like let's do that. You come back down. Let's do a fib retracement on what this move was, right? So pull up here, just a roundabout. So you have like a 0.5 retracement. Let's see how accurately I drew that arrow. That'll be interesting. So maybe from here to here. Yep, 0.5 retracement down to the $44.60 range before you have your final leg up. And again, let's talk about the emotions surrounding that, right? So generally speaking, right, think about, I guess I can take these fibs off here. Yeah, let's just take the fibs off. I guess I can take all this noise off the chart too, and then maybe we'll just leave this. So again, let's get back into the emotion, and remember, I think that my position in this is one that maybe you can compare it to and have have a relationship with, right? Like, so like just pretend like there are a lot of people who are like me that over the course of the months have been they've had a side eye on AMC, but they haven't really made a position, and they're just kind of like waiting for the next, oh, well, let's see what happens, And then remember, institutions are going to play a big role in the price action as well, obviously, because that's why it keeps repeating itself. but also like just regular like institutions that may be considering buying. Perhaps they've seen this strength in this price action, right? Maybe they see this trend line here, and oops, and maybe they're looking at it like, okay, well, we're it's got a sense of strength here. It's kind of going here. What if we were to short this thing? I'm not talking about big shorts, right? I'm not talking about like the classic short squeeze narrative people that we talk about all the time. I'm talking about maybe a big institution with a few billion, and a few 100 million in capital. They have a relationship with their broker, and they say, hey, look, we got some shares we can borrow here. Let's short this thing down in the beginning of the day. Use some margin or something like that to get that real strong effect, right? Maybe shake out a few people, not apes, right? Shake out a few people who may have been buying these dips and stuff because they want to get involved in AMC, but they just haven't really, they're not really into it, right? They bought this dip maybe and it pumped up here, and then now they're feeling a little exhausted because they've lost their gains or whatever. And they're like, you know what? I forget about it, right? They're not apes. Let me make that clear. These retail investors I'm referring to. You see, you get this sort of move down here. They're like, okay, this trend line is true. That's what the institution's saying. Let's break it, freak people out, and then we're just going to go long on the other side of that, right? Over the course of the next few days. Oh, let me switch off the brush. So, right, so that they can get the cheapest price possible. Remember, that's the goal for institutions. The goal for institutions, I'm not saying these institutions are apes. I'm saying that they're trying to make money. That's it. And they understand the narrative, right? They have social media. They are keeping track of the stock market. They understand, they remember Wall Street bets, and they remember the ape movement, and they remember the pump to $70 in June. And they know what retail thinks about this stock, right? They know the narrative. Trust me, man, this stock gets more impressions, especially on social media, than any stock, right? Like, it's GME and AMC, and for me, at least in my experience, that's kind of what brought me into AMC, is that the community, it just had this social media presence, and it always has, right? Since this region back here, right? Since back in January, everything like that. So they might be saying, hey, look, let's go long and just see what happens. They're not looking at the fractals, maybe. They're not looking at it from that sense, but they're saying, hey, look, we're seeing some comfort in the price action here. They might be looking at the fractals. I don't know. Yeah, let's get these shorts. And I know a lot of people are gonna say there's no shares left to short or whatever. Look, man, I'm just look. You look at Ortex, whether those shares are real or they're not or anything. This discussion that I'm having, this conversation, has nothing to do with that. I'm just looking at it. Just pretend like this, that it's just a regular, your run-of-the-mill institution, hedge fund, whatever. Their market maker, their broker, whoever they're dealing with, tells them, hey, we got this many to short. It's this much to short it. They go, okay, yeah, let's short it. Boom. Secretly, they want to go long. They short it. They close their shorts down here, and they also have longs built up, right? They're ready. They pull the trigger on both at the same time and cause this sort of effect. Also to mention, good account. One of the people who's followed me from the beginning, Will Bryant here, he has been talking about the put skew, the call put skew. So there's a bunch of calls that are out of the money and very little that are in the money. And this is not regular, right? This is not usually what's been happening with AMC is that calls have been in the money and puts out of the money. So market makers have been, again, follow Will. I'm going to take him off the screen here. Follow Will. He's a great account to follow. And he's been a supporter of mine from the beginning. But there's a lot of calls that are out of the money and very little that are in, right? So market makers, in order to hedge, it makes most sense for them to try and get some more of those calls in the money and some of those puts out of the money so that they can inflict max pain on the market and get the most profit possible. This is what causes these sort of gamma environments that caused the last big move up in June. And so there's a lot of factors that are going into this. And obviously you can tell. And I'm kind of rambling on a little bit here, but there's just a bunch of ways to be looking at this. But I think it's undeniable that Esternafiel, he's gonna flame me for these mispronunciations, but I think it's obvious here that we're coming to a similar place in the chart where we've been before. I would say, maybe, if you're invested, a lot of people, they go, technicals don't matter on this thing or whatever. But I'd say, take some time, just look at the chart and try and make these connections for yourself if you haven't already. Again, my TradingView link is down below. You don't have to use that either. You literally don't even have to have an account, but it is nice to have an account because then you can transition from your phone to your computer. You can take it with you on the go. But yeah, so anyway, where are we at with the video? 22 minutes in. Look, we'll do a quick breakdown of the Wyckoff analysis, and then we'll close out. So where does this put us with Wyckoff, right? Let's what is this situation with Wyckoff? So I've talked about in Wyckoff, whatever. I don't know how you pronounce it. Dude, I have so many different theories that I've been analyzing the shit out of this stock. Boy. So before June, just for an example here. Right? This is the type of move that we saw, obviously. The chart hasn't changed. This is what I've been talking about. And so let's see how this compares, right? Because we've done this, and if you're not familiar with Wyckoff or Wyckoff or whatever the fuck, it's basically a theory that was developed in the 1900s, late 1800s, by a guy named Richard Wyckoff, who was trying to understand the philosophy of institutions and how they will use their large capital, right, in order to inflict pain on retail traders in order to get them to sell off their positions or get retail traders really excited about a certain stock or whatever, and get them to buy at the highs, right? So it's a method of distributing assets, as you can see, perhaps happened here, right? A sort of distribution, and then accumulating these assets so that then they can prepare to distribute them once again at highs. So, and I know the chart's getting a little sloppy here, but look, let's adjust our Wyckoff theory. Let's do it. Or Wyckoff theory, Wyckoff. I really do think that this is where we're at. I mean, just looking at these side by side, obviously my sections of the chart or whatever, but so this is actually the phase C. Hold on. Yeah, so we would be going into phase C in this scenario if that's the case. And so, sorry, I know it's probably confusing for you to be watching as well, because just bear with me while I sort this out and make sure that I'm doing it the right way. Okay, so actually, you know what? Let's just start over right quick, because it's kind of throwing me off. See, look, he's stupid. He doesn't know what he's doing. I know a lot of you guys like the like the goofy voices. Look, I'm having fun. I don't really it doesn't bother me too much what people say about me. I'm sure that if you've been following me for a while, you've noticed. All right. I think it's funny that people just get so like wound up about, you know, whatever. Like last night I was toying with the idea, just talking about it with the community, about how it could be, what if it was that this thing is, you know, like the whole movement has been brought on by an institution. You know, oh, they didn't like that. You know, they all right, so look, so here's your trading range, and you're gonna see these similarities. You're gonna see the similarities here. So if we say that, let me just make sure I'm doing it right. Yeah. Okay. Wait, how did I come to this conclusion? I don't know. I'm not very smart, guys, so just bear with me. Dude, the chart has completely ruined my life. If if you're still here, obviously, I guess it doesn't really matter to you. It might be interesting to see me struggle like this at this point for you. What was I doing? All right. I was so dumb, dude. All right. And then let me just throw the accumulation again. Okay. No. Oh man. Now I'm all fucked up, because now, yeah, okay. And then blue, okay. So this now a sell test in phase B. This is your sell test, your phase A sell test. This is your automatic reaction, and this is your sell climax. No? No. See, I told you he didn't know what he's doing. Whole time. This Dave guy, he's a shill. He works for who do I work for? I work for what's the Citadel? I work for Citadel. It's the truth. And if you've stuck around this long in the video, you now know that. But it doesn't matter, because I've already gotten so much ad revenue off of you from YouTube that it doesn't matter if you know my secret, because I'm already rich. Because I clearly get paid $1 million per video for it. Okay. I don't know, dude. I would have to sit here and mess around with it. I'm not gonna sit here and fucking. But look, the main point. This video has gone off the rails. We have a last point of support, perhaps developing here, and then we would have a backup to retest the top of the trading range, and a last point of support again. And then this would also be, this peak here would be our sign of strength above the trading range. So basically, institutions would then have the proof that there is liquidity above this zone. And then the bottom of your trading range, a little bit trickier here. Yeah, I mean, I do feel like this is a sell climax, right? You have this big old drop. This is your primary sell-off. And then your sell test in phase B. I would have to sit here and mess with the fractals, because this doesn't look like that. Yeah. This is an automatic reaction. Okay, so I do still... Okay, yeah. But that's fine. Fuck, man. Well, now it kind of makes me think again that it's look, the thing is, it's repeating over and over again, and I'll show you an example of this. That's why these confusions can happen so easily, because... Oh, dude, you know what other comment I'm gonna get this video? Pre-plan your video if you know, because I have to, I don't know, I have stuff to do. But no, so the reason that it can be so tricky to do this fractal thing especially is because there's so many similarities within the chart. So put it this way, like if you look at this section of the chart right here, right before this pop-up, I'm sure that you can see that there's a distinct, like noticeable similarity in the chart in this region, right? Maybe it drags down a little bit more, but you can see that you know, there's these you see the, like, what the fuck? Why does it do the same thing over and over again? I tweeted about that the other day. I was tagging Gensler and everything. But anyway, yeah, so look, fundamentally, if you're not sitting here assuming that institutions are doing whatever the fuck they're doing or whatever, but I'll be honest with you, I mean, they are. You know, institutions are obviously at play here. Perhaps you have this one more, like, ugly swing down. You freak everybody out. Let's see what it looks like here. Or maybe you've already seen it. This is the 4-hour chart, by the way, so obviously, like, the bottoms can look a little bit more more than they would on, like, the daily chart, for example. And then where did we say we thought we were based on this fractal? Yeah, so yeah, you have this one more little push down. Maybe it's not as significant as I was thinking. You know what you can do? You can get a bars pattern from here to here. You gotta with these bars patterns. Another thing, if you're trying to make it, like, look the same, you have to make it a small section of the chart. It's so hard to do this on a mouse, by the way. Like, it's so sensitive for some reason. And I turn my mouse sensitivity down, and it's still sensitive. Oh my goodness. I really, like, look at that. It just flips. Look at it. Just look at it. It just flips so easily, man. Like, okay, whatever. All right, I give up. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. You remember the fractal from the beginning of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure you go join my Discord community down below. Follow me on Twitter. I'll have links down below that talk about Wyckoff and stuff like that. You can watch my previous videos to try and, like, if you're new, you can try and catch up on my thesis and what I'm thinking. Discord, Twitter, TradingView link down below. That's it. Thank you so much for following and watching until the end. Oh, and also comment down below, comment your thoughts. And like the video if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it. Thank you for sticking around until the end of the video if you did, and have a great rest of your day. Remember, apes seem to be more comfortable with a little bit more downside than they once previously were, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. All right, appreciate you guys. He was jumping around, and I couldn't keep track of any of his thoughts, and, you know, he should really just script and edit his videos. You edit my videos. You edit them. I'm just kidding. I know. I'm just doing this for fun to engage with the community. You know what I'm saying? All right. Peace out.